Hi, Shrea.
Hi, Sweta.
Thanks for coming. I mean, it's just like it's like my everyday conversation with you. So I'm not like feeling like this is like something special and different, and yet it is because of the context in which I'm going to be talking to you and um, exploring your life journey with you. Are you okay for that? Do you give me your permission to ask you some questions if I need to?
Yeah, I've never
Yep.
spoken this publicly, but yes.
You can stop me at any point of time and we don't need to go anywhere you don't want to. Yeah? And I'm going to ask you to sing many songs.
Okay.
Great. So, do you want to start with a favorite song of yours while I try and do the most difficult thing for me on a live, which is to pin a comment? So,
And the most difficult thing for me is to choose a favorite song because
okay, go with anything, top of your head, whichever one.
this one is called Gone. It's by a singer called Leon Lahavas.
Yeah.
When I waited for you, there was no show. Made myself believe the untrue. How could I not know? But it seemed easier just to lie. But I found you out. This is my last goodbye. 'Cause you used to be my life, and so keeping everything in tune. What the heck, man? Last time I checked, man, we had it all. It was just me and you. But what happened to you? Thought I knew you. No more chances. I'm gone, gone.
I am always so moved when I hear you sing. It's just like your voice pierces deep spaces inside me. Thank you. Tell me one thing. Have you always been singing?
I started singing when I was 11. It's a funny story. I used to go to dance class, and while I was dancing, I used to sing along with dancing. So my dance teacher told me, "You have a decent voice. Why don't you try music?" I was like, singing, me, eh. But then I tried, and then I sort of got obsessed with it. I remember the first song I sang was Taylor Swift song, and at that time, like my generation being 11, 10, Taylor Swift was the it thing. So I just started singing, and it was horrible back then. But then I just learned. So yeah, it's been 11 years since I'm singing.
11 years. And now you're like learning to be a full-fledged professional singer. Are you already a professional singer? Like, tell me a little more. Where are you right now in your journey,
I
musical
have
journey?
a bachelor's in Western music, contemporary Western music, and I think I am in the middle of being a professional and almost getting there. I have a lot of my original content ready, but I'm just like a little nervous to put it out. But it's under process right now because at some point, you always want to put out your own music. How much will you sing other people's songs?
Are you going to share some of your original content with us today?
Eventually, maybe.
If I can tempt you for that, right? Tell me a little bit about your childhood.
My childhood, well, I've been a kid that's been traveling around different places. Like if someone asks me where I am from, I never know how to answer this question because I'm from all over the place. I am all over the place, but I'm also from all over the place.
And
Like
you are all over the place.
yeah, so
Lovely.
that's that. I kept moving as a kid, moving to new cities. Like I was first in Bangalore, then I was in Bombay, then I was in Chennai, then I was in Singapore, and now I'm back to Bombay. So I always had to like be ready, like mentally prepared to move because my dad was in such a uh, job space where he had to keep moving. So at some point, I just got used to it. So I used to be a very social child because I had to. I mean, I always had to make new friends everywhere I went. Yeah, that's pretty much me.
And like your music training followed you? I mean, ever since after 11 years of age, wherever you went, did you kind of?
Actually, no. Funny story, I never trained till I was 16. I never started training. I started training only when I was in the middle of 16, 17 when I shifted to Singapore. Because until then, I was obsessed with being a lawyer. So I only used to go to law coaching classes, debates, MUNs, etc. Even when I was in Singapore, I think maximum of my time went. I used to intern with UN Women in Singapore. So singing, being like really, really into music, it just hit me like very late. Like that, this is what I want to do. It hit me in the middle of law school when I was doing it.
Mm,
Yeah.
really? And what is that eureka moment? Like what happened?
So one of my friend was playing at a venue, and his vocalist backed out because she had a throat um, infection. So she asked me, she's like, last minute, my friend, he has a gig. Do you please want to fill in? I was like, I've never done a gig before. I'm not a professional. I can't sing. But then she was like, please, 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 please do it, do it, do it, do it. So like I just went for it. On spot, I met the guitarist and I sang. And that led me to be a part of this one jam community in Singapore where like there were like hundreds of musicians from all around the world, and we just used to jam every week. We just used to like come, meet, perform music, practice music, listen to new music together. And that became more like prominent to me than I was doing my law. My law school used to just bore me. Like honestly, it was just like exhausting. Like whenever I was doing contract law, I was like, I'll just so yeah, so that's when like my major focus and interest started going towards music. And I started learning so much, exploring so much, performing so much. I started like I got rid of my stage fear. This whole concept that I can't perform, oh my God, I'm not good enough. That started going away. And then at some point things
Mm.
started going a little haywire at home. And like that also pushed me towards realizing that I didn't want to stay in Singapore anymore. So NMIMS just happened. I followed this girl who's now my really good friend on Instagram, and I saw her post saying the Bachelor's of Music in India. Like, applying.
So you said something really important over here. I mean, by the way, I must tell you, like I've seen your energy on stage and I've seen your performance energy and you're fabulous. And nobody would ever imagine that you would be somebody who'd said, "Oh my God, I had stage fright." You know, looking at you today, you're absolutely fabulous. But you really said there's something really important when you said you felt I'm not good enough. Like that's a fear that actually kind of grips many, many people and prevents them from really doing. And it comes not just because you feel that you're not good enough to do the performance or something. I'm not good enough comes much deeper. So would you like to talk about a little bit about that? Because do you still have that feeling right now? Are you over it?
I do. I have a lot of self-doubt. Trust me, I have like so much content of my own, but I'm so nervous. Will people hate it? Will people like it? Like my style is very different. Like I don't really connect a lot with pop music, and like the majority of the world loves pop music. So I'm like, will they hate my content? Will they like it? Will they
Mm.
is it good enough to be out on platforms like Apple Music, Spotify? Am I there yet? Like these questions. I mean, it went from one thing to another. Initially, it was stage fear, and then now I feel much more confident performing on and releasing my own music.
So you were telling me about your childhood, and then you were telling me about how the stage fright and how you felt you still feel I'm not good enough. Um, would you, I mean, would you like this to be the step to step into your experience, the horrible experience that you had with an intimate partner? Would you like to say that this is some kind of a bridge over here, which kind of made you accept an experience or a relationship which was not really completely enabling?
I think to an extent, yes. I don't know how exactly to correlate it into that equation, but definitely, whilst I was in that, I did feel like I am not good enough at all, amongst other things that were going on in that year, which was practically hell for me. So yes, definitely, definitely. Yes, I think whatever happened, it just made that feeling stronger. That, I'm weak. I had convinced myself that I'm weak and that I won't really get out of this whole phase and that I'm just going to be stuck here. And I won't lie, it still happens to me. I still get panic attacks thinking about that year. But yeah.
Did you recognize while you were inside that relationship that everything is not as it should be, like there is something intrinsically wrong? It's something. Did you recognize what was wrong? Did you recognize just that something was wrong? Like how alert or aware were you, or were you so deeply immersed in the relationship that you were unable to, kind of make sense of what was happening?
Initially, I did not. I think this is what my therapist told me, and it made a lot of sense to me. I think the way I'd been brought up, my childhood, I had normalized a lot of things in my head, be it abuse, be it gaslighting, be it emotional manipulation. I had normalized these things, and these things felt home to me. Like, I did not identify red flags, as they say, like right away into it. And by the time I realized it, it was very late. Like, I was too much into it. That's what I would to say. And it's very easy for people to say, why did you not leave? Uh, I
Yeah,
mean,
but that's a very common question that gets asked, why did you stay? How do you respond to a question like that?
I mean, I immediately start justifying myself. I mean, that is what I used to do. At least right now, people don't ask me about it because I don't really indulge in a lot of conversation about it. I try not to because it triggers me at some point. So I try not to talk about it. But every time someone asks me that question, I just say it's not easy. It's not easy. Like it's not a it, it's not a college that I choose to drop out of. It's not like that. It's something way more intense, traumatic, and I don't know. I run out of words also sometimes. Like I don't know. But my immediate response is I start getting very defensive and I start getting like very worked up and I start giving justifications.
More power to you, Shreya. Let's just talk about, you had a beautiful journey of healing. You had a beautiful journey of recovery, and you kind of have a quote also that you say that the journey of going from a victim to survivor is beautiful, perplexing at times, but beautiful, and one step at a time. And that just shows a lot of strength, right? And focus, and this whole willpower to say, hey, you know what, I'm not going to go down. I'm not going to let that become my identity. Do you want to share that journey a little bit, because that's what's going to give strength to people who may be wanting to take that one step?
I think the first thing that I did to help myself was forcefully go to therapy. I was in no condition to. Like, I have a physical condition called endometriosis. I had a surgery basically in 2019, and I was physically very weak as well as emotionally very weak. And I had no energy in me to like get up and go to a therapist or like, do anything. I just wanted to lie down and not do anything. And I was in a very dark space. So I think the first thing I did to help myself was to go to a therapist. And my mom helped me with that. She helped me find a really good therapist, and I love her. If you're watching this, hi. Uh, my therapist really understood my situation and where I came from. And I think, yeah, that is the first thing I did to help myself. I started being regular with therapy. I distanced myself from everything that could possibly trigger me, but I did do some stupid things. I kept not relapsing, but I kept going back and forth with communication with this person. I I mean, I wasn't immediately starting to listen to my therapist. That is something I regret. But I was I was trying. And then I just kept telling myself that this is not the end. This is just a phase that I'm going through. And that is honestly, and also getting myself a dog. That was honestly the best decision ever, I'd say, because everyone knows dogs are amazing, but they're also great emotional support. Like, dogs change your life. It gives you like a meaning. It gives you like a purpose. Like taking care of them becomes a purpose. Like if you are in a situation where you feel like there is no purpose, there's no point of life anymore, dogs change that. You just look at them and you're like, this being organism is my responsibility. And I have
Yeah.
to take care of myself and this little thing. So that really kept me going. Like Arlo coming into my life has been super powerful for me and like a lot, like very impactful. Like it really changed me. Like I became a better person. I became more responsible. It's almost like having a child, but except the child, I mean, dogs can't talk back, but it's pretty much like having a child. And I love that. So that, and then I think in 2020, I don't really know how I decided to like change myself. And I think the first thing I started doing was since I was on a gap year, I took a gap year from my college, which is also the reason why I was feeling horrible. I had nothing to do. I wanted something to do, and I'm a person who always wants something to do. I don't like being free. Like I really like I need to be doing something at all times. So that's when I started researching a little and I didn't understand what was happening with me. Like I did not it took me a long time to process things. By the time I had processed things, I really wanted to know what I could have done, what I could have changed, what I could have done better to get out or deal with that particular situation. So that's when I started researching about NGOs that work in this space, and that's when I found Sakshi. And when I started working with Sakshi, I learned so much about this cause. I learned so much about what had happened to me, what I could have done, what I could do. And of course, speaking to you really helped me, Smita. Like you, Natasha, all of you guys just taught me so much and gave me so much courage. I was like, and then I also like came across so many other stories, so many other like conducting so many lives with Sakshi. I came across so many other stories and it just inspired me to like get out of that negative space and try to be better. But I won't lie, I still get triggered very easily thinking about all of these things. It's not easy. I wouldn't say mentally I am all right and like I've completely let go of everything. It's still there. It still sometimes haunts me. Like not the incidents per se, but how I was. And sometimes I feel like I'm going back to being that version of me, and that haunts me. So yeah, it's been, and last year it just went like that. I feel like last year just flew. And this year I've been mentally so much better, I'd say. But at the same time, there are moments where I tend to get like really bad. And yeah.
But you have been a great advocate of mental health. Like you talk about mental health a lot. So how do you think that your experience of being a survivor of IPB has changed the way that you view mental health, or has influenced the way that you uh, look at mental health now, or the relevance of mental health or therapy?
I
Because
have been taking therapy.
and I'll tell you why I'm asking you this is because even now, even today, there's a lot of hesitation to go for therapy or seek help or create a support structure. And you had such a beautiful support structure that you're talking about right now. You had your mother, then you had the therapist, and you had the dog. And I'll talk more about your support structure a little more, but just tell me a little bit about therapy right now.
I started actually taking therapy when I was 13. So my school thankfully started this thing called Medall back in Chennai, and that was basically student counseling, and they used to provide therapists for students, and that was a very great initiative. I'm super grateful to my school for doing that. Not all schools provide the students with this, and I started taking therapy when I was 13, and I also loved psychology so much I ended up taking it as my majors in high school. So that's how I started learning more about mental health and psychology as a subject, and it was my second choice after law, in fact. Um, Doing psychology because I love the subject so much. And since then, I think I've been very much into mental health, speaking about mental health, promoting mental health everywhere. And also, I've been with friends who really needed therapy, but they did not have a choice to because their parents were like, "You're a teenager. This happens in adolescence. Your hormones are all over the place. You'll get over it. Just one more year of school." I've lost friends because of this. And that just made me angry at some point at our country because I was like, just when you're sick, you have a fever, you go to a doctor. But if someone is feeling anxious, you don't consider that an illness. You consider that a state of mind, a phase, a temporary situation that anyone can get out of. That is, I think, how India used to be at least 3, 4 years ago. Now things are hopefully getting better. I don't know. I hope it's getting better. But that's how things used to be when I was in school. And so I always understood the importance of therapy, which is why it was not difficult for me to push myself to go to therapy at this point. Um, but lately, I've also been taking medication because I realized I needed them. That is something I needed to convince myself. I was like, am I that bad? Do I really need medication? Has my mental health spiraled so much that I need to take medication? And I realized, yes, I needed to. And that is a step that I took for myself. I convinced myself that yes, this is going to help me get better in the longer run. And I really need to. As much as I would try to avoid it and be like, no, I don't want to depend on substances, medication is helping me, honestly. And that is something that I've realized it the hard way. I wish I had taken it earlier. But yeah, I think mental health needs to be spoken about, especially at a young age itself. Like schools, I think every school should start providing psychologists to the students because at every age, I feel students, like people go through different kinds of stress and it should not be ignored whatsoever it is.
So you spoke briefly about the support structure that you had created once you were going through this unfortunate experience that you shared about earlier. Um, do you still is it a conscious effort to create a support structure around you? What kind of a support structure do you have, and which is kind of helping you continue on your journey towards healing? And what is the kind of a support structure that you would kind of, talk to other people as well that they should be looking out for?
I think a safe space is something everyone needs. A safe space can be a mirror, a dog, a group of people you talk to, your classmates, your parents. It differs for every person, but I think everyone needs a safe space, somebody they can confide with, somebody they can really, really talk to, because that really helps. For me, right now, my safe space is staying in Bombay with my dog and Kripali. I think, yeah, Kripali shifting to Bombay was like made a huge impact on my mental health. Like, it really changed things for me. I think we both needed to be with each other. We both needed to escape from whatever the reality was before. And that really helped me. Living with a best friend changed things. Having a dog around changed things. That has been my constant support structure. But lately, I've also been like trying to talk to people. Um, I recently joined a support group online. I haven't really spoken much because I wasn't comfortable, but it feels good to be a part of somewhere you belong. Some place where you can talk out loud and nobody is judging you because everyone judges, like literally everyone. You post something, you say something. Social media is all about clout, judging, especially with this generation, which I sometimes I feel like I don't belong to this generation. Smita, I wish I was from your generation. Like
Really?
honest, yeah.
Welcome to the world of the baby boomers who find it hard to actually pin a comment as well, but that's fine. No, but seriously, I'm quite impressed with your journey. And so, what role did music play?
So this is something very interesting. I was never able to write a song until August last year. Every time I sat to write a song, I ended up writing poetry, and that used to make me really angry. And my poems are always very morbid. and like dark. They talk about like topics like death or like abuse, or I only could write whenever I was disturbed. I could never write otherwise. Like never. I sit to write, nothing productive or nothing happy would come out of it. But August last year I started to write my own songs, and that just made me really happy. Like I felt like I got out of a writer's block. I don't know how that happened. I don't know if it was my mental health changes that made me write a song. But in that same week, I ended up writing two songs.
Right.
It just kept happening henceforth, like therefore it just kept happening, writing songs. And that made me like, it really changed my perspective of how I looked at myself. Like, hey, you can write songs. It's not like you can't. Convinced yourself you can't, but you're able
Do
to. That's
you want to share?
no, not yet.
Okay, all right. All
Yeah.
right.
So,
Okay, we respect
the
that. I'm
music
grateful.
really helped me, and I think over these last few months, I've been researching a lot about music and healing, and I love how psychology, art, music, all of these things go hand in hand. And I would definitely like to pursue a future in this area. So that's that. I think music can really heal you. Music can really change a lot of things. It can calm you down. It can make you anxious. It can make you jumpy. It can change your mood completely. It can annoy you. For example, I cannot stand techno music. It annoys me. So like music can make you go through like different emotions, but mostly positive. At least for me, mostly positive because it's basically what I do. But sometimes it also puts you in a very, for me, I keep asking myself this question. Like everyone asks me, what's your hobby? I'm like, I sing. What do you do for work? I sing. I can't sometimes differentiate what my hobby is anymore and what my work is anymore because it's literally the same thing.
So,
So
so how would you place music and hope? Like, would they kind of come together somewhere or not? Or they separate from each other?
definitely, I think I do have a healing playlist on my Spotify, like songs which really inspire me. Like inspire me as in not as a singer songwriter, but inspire me as in the lyrics, the vocals, the power of these songs. So those definitely give you hope. Like it, you listen to them and you feel hopeful. Like you're going through a breakdown and you play that playlist, you listen to the songs, you listen to the lyrics, you start paying attention to the lyrics, and it changes your mood.
I want that playlist.
I'll send it to you.
So why don't we have a song from that playlist?
Okay.
Hmm?
So this is a song that I personally feel like it's very powerful and I can relate to it a lot. Um, it's called Praying by Kesha. It
Hmm.
talks about abuse. Well, you almost had me fooled. Told me that I was nothing without you. Oh, but after everything you've done, I can thank you for how strong I have become. 'Cause you brought the flames and you put me through hell. I had to learn how to fight for myself. And we both know all the truth I could tell. I'll just say this as I wish you farewell. I hope you're somewhere praying, praying. I hope your soul is changing, changing. I hope you find your peace, falling on your knees, praying.
Beautiful, beautiful. So, you just did this play with me, right? And you did
Mhm.
this brilliant performance of this young girl who is actually doing this whole journey of trying to find herself with the changed reality. And then you brought in this beautiful singing, this powerful singing over there. Um, what stayed with me during that process was that you just kept saying, I can relate to this character so much. I can relate to this character so much. It's almost as if I'm finding myself in this character. I want to hear a little more about that.
I don't really share a good relationship with my parents. I don't. So, especially my father, this is not something I've spoken about publicly either, but I haven't. So, that whole character of Sanjana, where she was conflicted with her father, it just resonated to me. And I felt like, I literally at some point, I felt like you wrote that script thinking of me. You wrote that keeping me in mind. Smita, it was that relatable for me. And the song Father that I sang, I was made to sing this as a challenge to face my fears by my vocal coach 2 years ago. Because every time I used to sing that song, I used to end up crying. So, yeah, my vocal coach, Gina, she knew about everything. And that's why she gave me this song so that I learned how to control my emotions while singing a song. Because sometimes you're singing a song and the lyrics feel so home negatively and you just can't sing it. Your voice starts shaking and it's just so personal to you. It feels like an attack. So that's why that song was very relatable. The script was very relatable. Everything that I was saying was relatable. And especially the relationship Sanjana has with her father, where they never communicated. They never really had much of an interaction. She always felt like she was ignored. I could relate to all of those things.
Wow. Wow, it's almost like the scripts find their actors themselves, like because wow, brilliant. Would you want to sing that song once again? It's such a beautiful song and you do so beautifully.
Sure. It's called Father by Demi Lovato. Father, I'm gonna say thank you, even if I'm still hurt. Oh, I'm gonna say bless you. I wanna mean those words. Always wish you the best. I pray for your peace. Even if you started this whole war in me. You did your best, or did you? Sometimes I think I hate you. I'm sorry, Dad, for feeling this. I can't believe I'm saying it. I know you were a trouble man. I know you never got the chance to be yourself, to be your best. I hope that heaven's given you a second chance.
I I just want to give you like a big hug and say I am so inspired, actually. I'm so grateful, inspired by your entire process and your journey back into yourself, and also grateful to you for sharing it today. Um, it's not easy either to share or to actually, also, the entire journey that you've taken is not easy. It has had its pitfalls, it has had its backlashes. You've kind of gone back and forth in that. But if there's one thing that you wanted to share with some people who may be still in a intimate partner violence situation, maybe they're trying their best to come to their into their healing, or taking the step out into the process of healing, or coming back to themselves, or reclaiming themselves, what would you want to say to them?
If someone is still going through that, I would definitely not be one of those people who'll say get out of it, because I know it's not easy at all. I was told that by literally everybody, and I was like, I was still very much into it. Like, I don't know, at some point I felt like I was convincing myself that I still want to stay in it. And when I decided that I've had enough, that one point, like, I think it reaches that one point where you're like, I cannot do this anymore. This has to, and I have to take an action right now for myself. I've had enough. I think that threshold is something that stops people from leaving earlier. And I hope that people don't have to reach till that point of abuse that they decide to leave. All I'd like to say is that I don't know what you're going through, but therapy definitely helps. It helps you a lot, and sometimes even gives you the courage to take the biggest decisions and take big steps right away. Therapy really helps. So if you're in a situation where you feel like you're convincing yourself to stay in something which you know is wrong, ask another person. Ask another person who can really, really help you out. Get help. Talk to people about it. Don't feel like you're trapped into it. Don't feel like the world is against you. Because I felt like that. I felt like the world was against me. I wanted something else. The world wanted something else. The world did not understand what I wanted. I felt like I want to do this. I want to stay in this, until a point where I was like, I can't. This is wrong. This is so wrong. This is not something that should be happening to anybody, not even my worst enemy. No. Don't wait till that point. If you have a choice, if you have a chance, some of us don't have the privilege to talk to therapist, afford therapy. Talk to someone you can trust. Talk to someone who you think can help you. It may be a teacher, it can be a friend, it can be a parent, it can be your neighbor. It can be anybody who you feel like you can confide your truth, your feelings, your emotions, and maybe they can guide you in the right direction if you feel like you're not strong enough to take that step, that decision, because that step, that final step that you take is the hardest decision to make. But once you have done that, the next step is to stick by it, because in these situations, things can get so manipulative and toxic. And there's obviously going to be a lot of convincing, a lot of back and forth, going back into it, falling right back, coming out, getting back in. There's going to be a lot of those things. But once you make that step, you need to stand by it. That is something which I had a lot of difficulty doing. But at that one threshold point, when I decided that I wanted to end it, I never fell back into it. I never did. And therapy helped me get there. Therapy helped me make up my mind. Therapy helped me understand that why I was normalizing it. It's because of my childhood. It's because I was in a toxic environment that I normalized toxic, and I thought, this is not toxic enough. This is fine. That is what my brain was telling me, which is why I couldn't get out of it. But if you're watching this and you're going through something which is wrong, if you're going through abuse, if you're going through emotional abuse, if you're going through physical abuse, if you're going through any sort of abuse with your partner, reach out to someone. Take an action if you feel like you're strong enough to deal with it. Going to the cops is not easy. I couldn't do it. I was very scared. I just could not. It just scared me so much to approach the police. I could have done it so many times. I've picked up my phone so many times trying to call the cops, but I never ended up doing it. Never. But eventually, I did reach out to the NCW, and I felt really happy doing it. I felt like I've done justice to myself. So, yes, the first step is to make that big decision. Second is to stick to it. And third is to decide what you want to do after that. That is what I would like to say.
Thank you, Shreya. More power to you. More power to you.
And this,
And I hope your voice gets amplified and more people can hear this and get courage from it and actually step out of abusive situations and step into themselves.
Definitely, definitely. And I think Sakshi is doing a great job in doing that. I mean, Sakshi is always home for me. So, I mean, Sakshi is the reason I would make a tribute to Sakshi right now because it definitely played a huge role in like whoever I am today, especially with knowing my rights, knowing what I have to do, what I don't have. You, especially Smita, I've troubled you so many times. So many times I've called you at like random points and I'm like, Smita, I'm having a breakdown. What do I do? I don't know what to do. You've helped me so many times. You've shared your story with me, which was so inspiring for me. I think that really helped me. It really, really helped me. So tribute to Sakshi, who played a huge role in my journey. And I'll always be grateful to Sakshi. And I'm joining.
Yeah, you're coming right back and we're doing the play again. And this time I'm not going to forget to introduce you. I promise.
Yes.
Thanks, Shreya. Thank you so much. Thank you. And to all the viewers and friends who would be watching this, we will continue to talk about domestic violence, sexual violence, child sexual abuse, intimate partner violence, um, because we believe that women, children, queer folks, closeted folks, everybody is deserving of equal rights. And if you want to know more about what we are doing and how we are doing and what you can do, join us on Sunday afternoons at 3 p.m. for a free webinar where we talk about all of this and more in order to make homes a safe space. Big
Bye,
hug to
Smita.
you.
I love you.
Love you too, darling. Bye.